Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing, and today we've got another very interesting combination to try out, and it's one that one of you guys suggested that we should bring out here just to see what it does. And it was definitely a very curious thought process that I genuinely have no idea what we're gonna see. It might work out great, it might be absolutely terrible, but considering that these shells have been a massive disappointment across the board so far, who knows, this could be some magical combination of stuff. But as for those shells I got out here today, I brought out some of these. These are some Winchester Super X 20 gauge buckshot loads. They are a 20 gauge 2 3/4 inch 20 pellet load of 3 buck, moving about 1200 feet per second. These are a buffered load of buckshot, but they do not have a wad and they are not plated. And in the number of tests we've done with these so far, they have been pretty terrible across the board, really. We've tried them through more open chokes, we've tried them through tighter chokes, and although they have performed a little better through those tighter chokes, these have probably been some of the worst performing 20 gauge buckshot loads we've tested, even though we really have not seen very many usable results out of any of them. So we'll see what these do through today's pretty different combination. And as for that setup we've got today, I brought out my Stevens 301 20 gauge. It has a 26-inch barrel, but for a choke, we've got this guy in the gun. This is a Primos Tight Wad 570 constriction turkey choke. It's definitely the tightest choke we've tried any 20 gauge buckshot through, but considering that shells similar to this have done well through the stock extended extra full that came with this gun, one of you guys wanted to see the 570 Tight Wad, so I guess we'll see what happens. It is a turkey choke. It's tighter than what we've tried before with these. It might help it. It might blow the pattern completely out. We're just going to have to see what happens. So as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper at 40 yards. I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity, and I've got the templates that we can lay up over our target if we see any kind of a decent pattern at all. So let's get you guys a view of that target, and we'll see what these Super X 20 pellet 3 buck shells can do through the 570 Tight Wad. This might work out great. It might be absolutely the worst buckshot pattern we've ever gotten. I have no idea what we're going to see, but we're never going to find a good combination unless we try some kind of wacky or interesting or different types of combinations. So let's go over here and see what it gives us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1269 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1200, so we were just a little bit above what they're saying we should be out of that 26-inch barrel. But 1269 is more than enough velocity for these shells. But what kind of a pattern did we get down at 40? And did this combination with this tight wad even work out in the slightest? I don't know yet, so let's go down and check out our results and see what we got. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And I gotta say, I think it worked out a whole lot better than what a lot of us thought it might. Because this might be one of the best 20 gauge buckshot patterns that we've seen so far. Now yes, we definitely favored our core a little to the right. I don't think that was me. It could have just been this particular shell and choke combination. Or we do have a little bit of wind today as well, so that could have pushed it over just a little bit. Either way, the white dot was my point of aim. The paper is 36 inches wide by about 44 inches tall, and we had 17 out of the 20 pellets actually hit the paper. The other 3 were probably either flyers or just off the right edge over there, more than likely. But what we saw here was a pretty solid pattern overall. That core area there is not bad whatsoever. Now yeah, we definitely had some flyers and stuff over here off the left edge and down at the bottom down there, so it's far from perfect, but hey, we had a good majority of our load right there in a somewhat central core area, which is something we really haven't seen out of a 20 gauge buckshot load thus far. And I did measure the pellets you see on your screen right here in this middle main core area, gave us right at a 19 3/4 inch spread at 40 yards. So just under 20 inches for the majority of our pattern there, if we don't include the flyers. That is absolutely a usable combination. Now of course I'd want to see some of those flyers tuned in, but considering what this combination is and what the potential of it could have been coming into it, I'll take that for what it is all day long. So let's throw a couple templates up, and we'll probably favor them a little bit to the right since our core is a little touch right, and get a little better idea of how these actually performed. So first up here is our 10-inch circle, and since our core did favor a little to the right, I did move it a little to the right, and we had 6 out of the 20 pellets within a 10-inch circle at 40 yards. That's not bad, all things considered. And 6 pellets worth of 3-buck at 1,260 something feet per second, that's absolutely enough through the vital area on whatever you'd want to use them for to get the job done for you. So definitely not bad overall there, but let's throw some animal templates up and see how these would look if you were to actually take this combination out on a hunt. All right, so here's our deer template now, and I did favor it a little to the right since our pattern was over there again. But as you can see, you would have pretty much that entire main core area right through the vitals there. So yeah, that's absolutely a dead deer all day long without a doubt. That's plenty enough pellets right through there where that deer probably wouldn't go very far, if anywhere at all. And the fact that we actually have a usable and a decent combination here in a 20 gauge buckshot load is rather surprising based on what we've seen so far. So looking at that, that is a more than good enough deer hunting combination. You might have to deal with a couple of flyers, so you might want to make sure you don't have a deer standing right next to the one you're aiming at, but for a core area there, that's more than good enough to do the job all day long. So now we'll swap over to the hog template, which will give us a look at what it would look like on a pig hunt or a potentially little bit smaller animal like a coyote or something as well. So here's that hog template, and it's pretty much the same story. More than enough pellets through the vitals and stuff if you wanted to pig hunt with these all day long. That's absolutely going to get the job done. And for you predator hunters, a coyote would be just a little bit smaller than this hog template is, and you would still have plenty enough pellets for those guys as well. So overall here today, that combination did a whole lot better than what it could have coming into it, that's for sure. That 570 tight wad could have absolutely ruined the pattern, but it clearly didn't. We still saw a couple of flyers over there on the left and stuff without a doubt, but hey, that right there might possibly be the best core we've seen out of any 20 gauge buckshot load so far. So maybe these 20 gauge turkey chokes in the 570 to 575 range or so might be what a lot of these 20 gauge buckshot loads really like. So at least now we have a promising choke combination for a couple of these other loads that have been pretty terrible performers, so they might work better through it. So yeah, this could have been a big disappointment, but it worked out, which is why you sometimes should test these kind of oddball combinations, because you never know what's going to happen, and you might find a couple of them that really work out a whole lot better than what you thought they would, which is pretty much what happened here today, I'd say. So I guess, what do y'all think about that combination right there, or that performance that we saw? That was definitely a very interesting thought process coming into it, and it could have absolutely given us a terrible pattern. But hey, I'd say it worked out pretty good, considering the fact that it gave us a very usable combination out of a 20 gauge buckshot load that we have really never seen any good results out of. Tells me that we might have hope in that 570 to 575 choke range for a couple of these other 20 gauge loads as well. And that's kind of been something we've been working out and figuring out over the last few weeks, is that these 20 gauge buckshot loads tend to like the little bit tighter constrictions, at least out of my 301. Either way, that's not a terrible pattern there whatsoever. It's absolutely usable enough on a deer or a hog hunt or anything like that to get the job done without a doubt. So leave all your thoughts down in the comments. Is it about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Winchester Super X 20 gauge buckshot loads? Or have you run a buckshot load through a 570 tight wad or some other choke similar to that? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? And what other 20 gauge buckshot loads or choke combos do you want to see us try? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.